till I drown. And if I wake up tomorrow when that sun comes back around, I'll be wishing I was sober.
Ain't that the truth? Okay, few things. One, same key as the Rich Men North of Richmond. Again, he kind of has stated, or people have told me that he stated, that this is a new choice, but clearly he's been singing and playing forever. So he's clearly found a spot, you can't see it in the picture, where he feels comfortable with his voice and the capo works, okay? So G minor is your basic jam, right? On your relative major, B flat minor. The outlier chord you're hearing, that is D7, okay? Again, D7 is not in the key of G minor or B flat major, but what this does, this D7, it gives you the major third in D, the F sharp, which is the leading tone, back to G. So it really brings your tonal center back to G. Now when it goes to the chorus, or when it goes to the bridge rather.
That's funny, so you got a singing key. That's what's funny. And when you play, your voice kind of automatically it syncs up. That's an A. Damn it. See, fucking doing that rookie shit, hitting two strings by accident and shit. I can't believe that. I don't practice enough, that's the problem. And I don't practice enough, not enough focus. But I'm fucking trying to understand the theory of it all, the music theory part. Open this shit. Put my phone on the charger. Got a little coffee today. Because of the circumstances of the morning, it was just easier. But it's just a little bit. I didn't fill it up all the way. And it's day 6, no vapes, man. Still smoking the reefer, but day 6 though. Still getting cravings, but fewer and fewer, less and less. Whichever is more grammatically correct. Thank God. And a lot of the coffee shit was like, fucking take a sip, take a hit, take a sip, take a hit. God damn, that's crazy. So he said G minor. What's this? Or
What this does,
or this is also G minor. Yeah, that is. Is there another G minor? Where's another G minor? This is major. That'd be minor. Is that minor? That's the root note. G, B, D. G, E, B. B, D, D, that's major. Minor would be a flat third. So you move it a half a step, so that's minor.
gives you the major third in D, that F sharp, which is the leading tone.
Let me see. So, but all this shit about fucking leading tone and shit, I gotta
So G minor
understand
is your
that.
basic jam, right? Going to your relative major, B flat minor. The outlier chord you're hearing, that is D7, okay? Again, D7 is not in the key of G minor or B flat major. So what this does is D7, it gives you the major third in D, that F sharp, which is the leading tone, back to G. So it really brings your tonal center,
I fucking wasn't paying attention.
okay? You can't see it in the picture where he feels comfortable with his voice and the capo works, okay? So G minor is your basic jam, right? On your relative major, B flat minor.
B flat minor. B flat minor. He's got it down there. But what did he say?
On your relative major, B flat minor. The outlier chord you're hearing, that
Yeah, why'd he call it B?
on your
That's fucking major. Why'd he call it fucking B flat minor? You fucking liar. You just took for granted that I want to skinny dip. I'll quick hit. That's your game. But I'm trying to please me, stimulate my brain. No, 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 word, not a word, not a word from your lips. You just took for granted that I want to skinny dip. Okay, that's your game. But I'm not a piece of me, stimulate my brain.
B-flat minor. The outlier chord you're hearing, that is D7, okay? Again, D7 is not in the key of G minor or B-flat major, but what this does is D7, it gives you the major third in D, that F sharp, which is the leading tone, back to G. So it really brings your tonal center back to G. Now when it goes to the chorus, or when it,
About to fucking learn some music theory right now. Music theory, chord structure. Chord structure, music theory. Every possible chord symbol explained. Alright, let me check that out.
Por un DUI. Sale caro no cumplir con la ley. Creo que un taxi es más barato.
This video is sponsored by TomPlay. There are all sorts of symbols that you can encounter when you're reading a chord chart. Sometimes the exact same chord can be labelled with a variety of different symbols. So today I'm going to go through every possible chord symbol that you can encounter on a chord chart to make sure that you know what to do when you encounter it. So starting with the simplest chord symbol we could get, if the chord symbol is literally just the alphabetical letter, in this case C, then we play a major triad based on that note, C major. Very occasionally the majorness of the triad will be specified with the word match, but almost always it will be simply just the alphabetical letter. If there is a lowercase m following the letter, then it's calling for a minor triad built from that note, C minor. Note that it should be a lowercase m. If it's an uppercase M, this could actually be referring to C major. Also, if you've ever read a jazz chart, like from the real book, you'll know that another way of writing a minor chord is with a subtraction sign, a minus sign. So C minor could be labelled like this, or like this. If we're given the word dim, it means that we're meant to play a diminished triad chord, C diminished. And a diminished triad can also be notated with a little degree.
Yeah, see, that's not telling me the fucking structure. So, yeah, let's see. Because what I know is major, minor, augmented, aug2, aug4, major 7. I know how those are. Because the augmented is, yeah, there's aug4 and aug2. And that's like, changing the third to the second or the fourth. Let me see this shit.
What's up, everyone?
What's up, dog?
Okay, this is another primer lesson here of music theory that everyone should know. Okay, Before I start, I have a discount code for my store. Anything in my store, DJ Green Arrow, great to see you. RB900, 30% off everything. I want you can always stop play. I mean, I'll demonstrate some things on my guitar here so you can hear the sound of it, but we're gonna move quickly here. Pause the video, look at it, whatever you need to do, but it's all in my book. It will make sense more when you read it over and over. There's a lot of memorization.
Well, yeah.
I also have coffee mugs for sale that have music theory.
He said it'll make more sense when you read it over and over. Duh. That's all you gotta do is fucking do shit and read shit over and over again for it to fucking make more sense. It's a fucking book. I'll just fucking watch this.
The modes of the major scale, and they have the keys. There's about 6 different ones.
Unless it's for free.
Okay, this is the key of C. These are the triads in the key of C, and they are called the primary chords. Now, I just did a video about the 10 levels of harmony. There's really 100 levels of harmony, or hundreds of levels of harmony. But some of the basic things I did, I took a 1, 6, 4, 5 progression, and I talked about how to reharmonize those 4 chords. So, we use this thing called Roman numeral analysis, and in Nashville they call it the Nashville numbering system.
We need to make a video for this. Create a video script sharing our new company values.
God, that's so fucking whack.
These are the numbers of the chords, okay? They use uppercase Roman numeral.
I'm getting fucking YouTube Premium after I got my fucking bullshit ass van bullshit taken care of. Getting that premium, dog. Remember these fucking commercials, advertisements taking me out of the zone, ruining my life.
Indicate a major chord. Lowercase Roman numerals to indicate a minor chord. And here on the 7th, it's minor plus we make it diminished. Okay, those are the primary chords in the key of C. By the way, all the people like Griselda that leave super chats, thank you. I won't be able to answer questions because I want to go quickly on this. Okay, I want to talk about this really quickly. But I appreciate that. Okay, so the first thing that I did, so I talked about the 1, 6, 4, 5 progression, okay? So that means in the key of C, C major, A minor, F major, G major. I did it in B flat in the video.
The 1, 6, 4, 5.
Then you have your secondary chords, your secondary dominant chords. These are chords that are related. Think of this as the primary colors and then the secondary colors. Okay, so your
C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7. So that's it. So you say 1, E 3, D 2, A 6, F 4. You know what I'm saying?
colors are
like C, D, E, F, O, 4. That's funny.
red, blue, and yellow, right? Is that right? Yeah. Now, when you mix the primary colors together, when you mix blue and red together, you get green, right? Is that right? Oh, geez, am I screwing this up? You know the analogy here. Okay, so your secondary chords in the key are A. These are called secondary dominants. I'm going to put SEC dominants. Okay, these are actually related by fifth to the primary chords. B major, C major, D major, and E major. Okay? There is no secondary dominant to the seventh chord because it's an unstable chord. I talked in the video about this concept that there are tonic chords, there are predominant chords, and dominant chords. Okay, your tonic chords in a major key are 1, 3, and 6. What dominant chords do? They want to move some.
I fucked up. Stop paying attention. What was I thinking about? Something about life. Oh yeah. Like I want to know what fucking what the fuck people are thinking, you know? I wonder what people are thinking. I wonder what everyone thinks. Like really truly thinks. That's what I wonder about. Not what they think about me. Fuck me. Forget me. I just wonder. Like, what are they all thinking? What is everyone fucking thinking, man? Like, why are they living? Why do they do what they do? You know? Like, what are they actually thinking? Like, what are they really, really thinking, you know? Because what you say and what you think, you know, you're thinking way more than you could ever say. Like I had fucking 10 billion thoughts right there. You're thinking shit constantly. Everyone is. What are they thinking? Well, they're thinking about themselves, you know? Obviously. I mean, I know what they're all thinking, but I want to know specifically. Thinking about life, thinking about themselves, thinking about what they're doing. But what? What about it? What specifically, you know? I know everyone's thinking what I'm thinking, you know? and they're also not. Because I think of things I haven't thought of. That's what everyone does. Thoughts. Or thinking them. Constantly. You think the same thoughts, of course, but you also think new thoughts. See, I want to know exactly what I'm doing, you know? I know a tiny bit. A, G, G. No, G. Yeah, that's G. G. That's G. 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 Oh, that's G too. Yeah. G here. G here. Where's G on this string? That's D. G, G. That's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so that's G. So G, 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 G. You know, but that's just G. Let's see. Let's see. D. Let's see what's another one here. Bam. Well, if that's D, then that's D sharp or E flat. That's E. 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 What's that? Oh, A. 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 Because whatever this is 2 up and 2 across, is whatever that is. So I didn't know what that was, but I was like, what's that? A. So that's A. And then the same thing here. That's A. 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 Oh no, A. A, B, C, B, A. That's up here. C, C, B, A. A, B, C, A, B, C. Alright. But that's about it.
E major and E major, okay? There is no secondary dominant to the 7th chord because it's an unstable chord. I talked in the video about this concept that there are tonic chords, there are predominant chords and dominant chords. Okay, your tonic chords in a major key are 1, 3, and 6. What dominant chords do?
1,
they
3,
want to move
and
some
6. 1, 3, and 6. Those are the tonic chords? Tonic chords.
So these secondary dominant chords here want to move to their primary chord, okay? That's when you get progressions like C major to A major. So here's the 7 chords in the key of C, in any major key, right? The first common...
Damn it. I'm trying to go to the whichever one is fucking... Fuck up. Damn it. Alright, I'm gonna get the premium, yo. Damn, maybe I'll sign up for that trial in the meantime. See where he's going with this.
This all new Aria?
Fuck, man. Are you serious?
Yeah, with 389 horsepower.
Oh my god. Oh, another one. Wow.
I can't grow facial hair.
What the fuck?
1, 572 to 2 to 57. I won't say 57. These are just tries. 1 to 5 of 2 to 2 to 5 of 3.
You know what? Fuck this fucking guy. Piece of shit. How chords are built. This guy's a fucking excellent guitar player. Paul David.
And this is episode 3
Paul
of a series
Davis.
in which we learn the basis of music theory. And I highly recommend you watch the first 2 episodes about learning the notes and the major scale first before starting on this video. And in this lesson, which is broken up into 2 videos, we'll talk about how chords are being built and constructed and played on a guitar. A chord is a group of notes played together, mostly 3 or more. And the most used chords are called triad, which includes the major and the minor chord. And those triads are built using only 3 different notes. But Paul, when I play a G major chord, I'm playing 6 notes, right? Well, you're playing 6 strings, but are they 6 notes? Well, thank God we watched the first video, so we can name each note we're playing in the G major chord. From low to high, this is a
baby.
G note, a B note, a D note, and a G again, and a B again, and a G again. So we've got some notes were doubled. And the only 3 notes, unique 3 notes we play are G, B, and D. And then we got G, B, and a G again. So G, B, D, 3 unique notes. G major. And the same applies to every major and minor chord. Even diminished, augmented sus2 and sus4, those chords only made up of 3 different notes. You can double every note as much as you want, but that doesn't change the chord. Now, let's make a major chord ourselves. Let's take a look at the C major chord, for example. Now, we have to take a look at the C major scale for this. We need 3 notes, and the magic 3 notes of a triad always are the 1, the 3, and the 5. Remember that. 1, 3, 5. And this is where the functions from episode 2 come in handy, because these are the functions I'm talking about. The first, the third, and the fifth. The 1 is the C. The 3 is the 3rd note from the C major scale, being an E. And the 5 is the 5th note from the major scale, being a G. So now we found out that the C major chord is built up from the notes C, E, and G. So if you shortly want to check if our conclusion is right, let's find out the C major chord. So we start on the C. That's right. The following string is an E. A G. Okay. C again. And an E again. So that's right. We were right. C, E, and G. Cool. If you get this, you're
You know
destined to become...
There was another dude that was fucking... Oh, this dude. Signals.
La superestrella de la música latina.
Fucking goddamn. See, I want to know. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Chord structure.
One question that I get asked a lot is how I stay so fit and handsome into my late 20s. Most of the other questions I get are about guitar chords. Now, when you first start out and you're first playing guitar, chords are just kind of hand shapes that you learn to move around, and basically you're just memorizing them. Now, one of the best ways to really advance at guitar, and something that's going to be great for your playing, no matter how long you've been playing, is having a fundamental understanding of how these shapes work. Now, there's also a lot of confusion because the naming system can be completely confusing if you don't understand it from a fundamental level, like what's the difference between major chords and minor chords and how they interact with each other, etc., etc. So what we're going to do is actually put the guitar down, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and talk about the fundamentals of how chords are made. Okay. Now, I know a lot of you are probably like, man, this is stupid, I just want to play. Well, get over yourself for like 1 minute and pay attention, because this is super important and it's going to make everything you do from here on out so much easier to understand once you just kind of get these basic concepts down. So we're going to start by writing out the notes in the key of C major. Now, if you don't know how to come about these notes, we can talk about that later, but right now we're just going to assume that you know the notes in C major are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Okay, so that's it. That's all of C major just written out for you. Now, the rules that apply to this apply to any key. We're just using C because it's not really messy. There aren't any sharps or flats. All whole tones, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign each one of these letters a number. So C is going to be 1, because it's what's called the root note of the scale. D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B 7, so on and so forth. Alright, so now, we want to figure out how these 7 notes combine to make different chords. So let's start with the most important one in the scale, which is going to be C major. Now, it's pretty simple. Any major chord is going to be what's called a triad. Now, the definition of a triad is just a chord with 3 different notes. There's a very precise formula that goes along with this. So, a C major triad, you just take the first note, the third note, and the 5th note, and combine them. Now, these 3 notes together, C, E, and G, will make a C major chord. Now, there are a lot of different ways that we can combine these. All these different ways are going to be called different voicings, and some voicings you'll probably find more familiar than other, but this is the gist of it. Now, if you kind of notice when you go 1, 3, 5 like that, we're just skipping a note every time. Now, this is actually a really important concept because it will tell you all the other chords in this key. Now, the difference between major and minor, other than, you know, minor chords sound kind of sad, major chords sound a little more happier and uplifting, is that in any key, in any major key, the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes are going to become major chords, and the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th notes are going to become minor chords. Now, what that means is any of these 7 notes, just single pitches all by themselves, have the potential to become
I already know
a
that's
triad.
fucking shit. I want to know about fucking 7ths and shit. Like a diminished chord. Major, minor 7, and minor, major 7. A flat, C. So what is that? C. What scale am I in? I think I'm in D minor. Pentatonic. So D, F, G. What is this? What scale am I at? D, G, or D, F, G, A flat. See, this is why I get the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths. In case you don't know, now you know. Oopsies. Whoopsies. God damn it. Oh yeah, I was figuring out what fucking scale I was in. So we got C, D, C, D, F. I think this is a fucking blues scale. Yeah. F, A flat, D, F, G, D, G, F, A flat, G sharp. G sharp minor is B major. So where are we at? We're at D. D major is B minor. Is that A? So that's A, C. Sounds like a so that's not even. So is it because I started on the D? That's why it fucking goes on the D. So that would be A, or so it's the A minor pentatonic blues scale, but I'm starting on D. So A, B, C, D. So it's the fourth mode. Or no, because it's off the major scale. Or whatever. So I think it's just A minor pentatonic starting on D. Which makes it a D tone.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great take, but
Have you ever wondered why some sounds goes well together and some other not? Why some sounds can merge beautifully and be consonants, and some others can be less pleasing to the ear and be dissonant? There are different ways to explain that, but we have to go back to what sound is in its nature. What is sound? Sound is a variation of pressure that moves through the air. Translation, sound is a vibration of air. The particles in the air get all compressed, then stretched out, then compressed, then stretched out, etc. And that's how the sound propagates, like the waves on the surface of water when you throw a rock in a lake, for instance. That is also why there is no sound in space. If there is no particle of air to be compressed or stretched, there is no sound propagation. So this vibration will make our eardrum vibrate inside our ear, and our brain will be like, hey man, you are hearing a sound. To know if two sounds are consonant or dissonant, we can compare their frequency of oscillation. Basically, the simpler the ratio is between these frequencies, the more consonant they are. So if I take a sound that vibrates at 220 Hz, for example, the more consonant sound that can go with it is 440 Hz, which is the double of that frequency, so they have the simplest ratio of 2 to 1. The next most consonant sound that can go with this 220 Hz is 660 Hz, which is the triple of these frequencies, so they have a ratio of 3 to 1. And then the next most consonant sound that can go with that is 880 Hz, with a ratio of 4 to 1. And if we keep going, we start creating a series that we call the harmonic series. So the simpler the ratio is between two frequencies, the more consonant they are. And that means that the more consonant they are, the more frequently their waves will sync up. That is also why when two sounds are dissonant, we can hear a beating in the sounds. That are the waves that go slowly in and out of sync. This is also how we can define purity of a consonance. This is the absence of beating when two sounds play together. We can use that to create our first musical scale and play actual music. We've settled that the most consonant sound to go with our 220 Hz sounds would be 440 Hz, so twice as high, with a ratio of 2 to 1. And they are actually so consonant that they are considered the same notes with different pitches, but if our 220 Hz is an A, 440 Hz is also an A, but 1 octave higher. So that means every time we multiply or divide a frequency by 2, we actually are getting the same notes, but 1 octave higher or lower. So the most consonant interval between two different notes would be when they have a ratio of 3 to 1. And that is what we'll use to build our scale. So let's start with our A at 440 Hz. We can add 1 note above and 1 note below using the 3 to 1 ratio. And then we can multiply or divide these frequencies by 2 to get the same note, but closer to our 440 Hz note. We can then go one step further with these new notes we just created by multiplying or dividing their frequencies by 3 to get other new notes. By bringing these frequencies to the narrowest range possible, we can end up with this suite of notes. And there we created our first pentatonic scale with 5 notes per octave. That is probably the kind of scale that is the most used around the world. It's used a lot in Chinese music, blues, country, and folk music, for example. The frequencies in our scale actually correspond to the notes G, A, B, D, E, which is the pentatonic scale of D major, or the pentatonic...
G major. G, A, B, D, E, G. Because that's also G minor pentatonic. Oh wait, so yeah, no, that's right. I was in D minor pentatonic. Yeah, it was D minor. I wasn't. All that other bullshit was wrong. Because the one behind it. Yeah, alright, cool. That clears things up. I was tripping.
And from there we can add 2 notes again. So we can end up with these frequencies that correspond to the notes G, A, B, D, E, F sharp, which is the scale of G major. And this is how the first scales were created. In this kind of scale, the first note is called the tonic, and then there is the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh.
Oh yeah, that's a sure.
And this is why we call the next note the octave, oct meaning 8, which is technically the same note than the tonic. Now back to the harmonic series we made at the beginning of the video.
Go back.
That correspond to the notes G, A, B, D, E, F sharp, which is the scale of G major. And this is how the first scales were created. In this kind of scale, the first note is called the tonic, and then there is the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and this is why we call the next note the octave, oct meaning 8, which is technically the same note than the tonic. Now back to the harmonic series we made at the beginning of the video, and compare it with the notes we have in our scale. So the first note, harmonic 1, is our fundamental, and the harmonics 2, 4, and 8 are different octaves. Then the most consonant notes with our tonics in our scale would be the fifth and the fourth, as we use the 3:1 ratio of the harmonic 3 to make them, and the fourth is a fifth below the tonic. Then the most consonant note with our tonic would be the third and the sixth. If we look the relation between our third and the fundamental, we find a relation of 64 on 81, which is almost 4/5. We choose the 5:1 ratio of the fifth harmonic in the harmonic series, and the sixth is the third below the tonic. And finally, the two last notes, the seventh and the seventh, are the most dissonant with the tonic in our scale. This third, that is almost exact but not perfect, will begin to cause problems at some point, but we'll see why a bit later.
Hey, it's Vaughn from the Gospel University. Listen, are you
Gospel University again, dog.
In this kind of basic way?
Truth is in nature, there's no sound that vibrates on only one frequency at a time. A sound that vibrates at only one frequency is a sine wave. That's what only one frequency sounds like. Any other sound is in fact always a cocktail of a lot of frequencies. Among them, the lower frequencies is called the fundamentals. That's often the note we hear and the one we can sing, and all the other frequencies are called the overtones. We split these overtones into two families, the harmonic overtones and the inharmonic overtones.
I'm understanding more. This is exciting. This is exciting. So I'll replay that part.
It sounds like at a time. A sound that vibrates at only one frequency is a sine wave. That's what only one frequency sounds like. Any other sound is in fact always a cocktail of a lot of frequencies. Among them, the lower frequencies is called the fundamentals. That's often the note we hear and the one we can sing, and all the other frequencies are called the overtones. We split these overtones into two.
So what I'm getting out of this, which he hasn't said yet, but what I think he's going to say is, so if you hit a fucking, like a C, if it was just the pure C note, it would have sounded like this.
It sounds like. Any other sound
Well, I
is
don't know if that was C, but that was just, it would have made that type of sound. And so what he's saying is that you make other shit, there's other vibrations, and those are the other notes in the scale that
are called the overtones. We split these overtones into two families, the harmonic overtones and the inharmonic overtones. The harmonic overtones participate to the musical note we hear in the sound, the one that we can sing. They are parts of the harmonic series of the fundamental, which means that their frequency is a multiple of the fundamental's frequency, the fundamental being the first harmonic, the second harmonic being twice this frequency, which is the octave, the third harmonic being 3 times this frequency, which is the fifth, the fourth harmonic is another octave, and the fifth harmonic is the third, etc. They all participate to the musical notes we hear in the sound. In fact, when a string of a guitar vibrates, all these harmonics are present in the sound we hear. When you play a natural harmonic, you isolate some of this frequency that were already there. With an open string, we hear the fundamental. With your finger touching the string just above the 12th fret, which is the middle of the string, you hear the second harmonic. With your finger touching the string above the 7th fret, which is the third of the string length, you hear the third harmonic.
Okay, so what do you say, the 12th? And then the 6th. Or what?
With your finger touching the string just above the 12th fret, which is the middle of the string, you hear the second harmonic. With your finger touching the string above the 7th fret, which is the third of the string length, you hear the third harmonic, etc. All the other overtones that are not part of this harmonic series are called inharmonic overtones and participate to the tone of the sound. If a sound has too much in then we can't really hear notes in it. In this case, we talk about inharmonic sounds. It's the case of a percussive sound like a snare or cymbal, for example. Drummers know that you still have to tune your drum kits, and this is because the sounds found in nature are rarely 100% harmonic or inharmonic, but more often a mixture between the two. So these harmonic overtones participate to the musical note we hear in the sound, and these inharmonic overtones affect the tone of the sound. As a practical example, a pure sine wave is the only sound that has no overtone, because that's how one frequency sounds. Then if we add odd overtone from our harmonic series, the fundamentals being 1, so we add the 3, 5, and so on, then our sine wave begins to become a square wave. Then if we begin to add the other overtones of our series, our wave turns into a sawtooth wave. This means that a sawtooth wave is richer in overtones than a square wave, which is richer in overtone than a sine wave. But these three waves are 100% harmonic sounds and are actually at the basis of sound design in any synthesizer. As an example of a 100% inharmonic sound, you have the white noise, which is all the frequencies between 20 Hz and 20 kHz, all at the same level, which is at the basis of a synthetic snare or cymbal sound. Mix harmonic sounds with inharmonic frequencies and you can theoretically recreate any sound you've heard. In fact, overtones are the reason why a piano and a trumpet sounds different. It's because they don't have the same overtones in it, harmonic and inharmonic, and each overtone resonates at different levels. Let me show you. We can series in the three first sounds, the lower sound being the fundamental, and with each harmonics at different levels. And we can also see the inharmonic component of each sound. In the two last sounds, we can't really see any harmonic series. These are inharmonic sounds. In the last video, we said that in a major scale, the most consonant sounds were the tonic, were the fifth and the fourth, and then there were the third and the sixth, and then came the second and the seventh. In fact, the more consonant two sounds are, the more overtone they have in common. So if we take a sound with its first harmonic overtones and compare it to the notes in the scale that are the more consonant with it, then we can see this overtone lining up for the fifth, for the fourth, the third.
Man, I bet drumming is fun as fuck. Dog. I bet that shit is so fun. I want to do that too, because you're fucking using your whole body with that. And if you're going to the beat, like you're dancing on the drums. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing when you're playing. You're dancing on the guitar. You're dancing with your fingers. The piano. That shit's so fucking tight.
Take a sound with its first harmonic overtones and compare it to the notes in the scale that are the more consonant with it, then we can see this overtone lining up for the fifth, for the fourth, the third, the fifth, the second, and the seventh.
Dr. Drew and my wife Susan here, we want to show you something. You've probably seen this guy all over your feed claiming that cutting carbs isn't necessary for weight loss.
One of the biggest fitness myths is when people say carbs make you fat. Carbs don't make you fat. I'm a big donut guy.
No need for long hours on the treadmill either.
If you think that I spend 3 hours in the gym every single day and all I do is regular steady state cardio all the time, you're wrong.
Now I know it sounds too good to be true, but let me tell you, There's more to this than meets the eye.
The science of weight loss was cracked a long time ago. It's not a trend, it's facts. Following all those like trendy fad diets, all those trending workouts that you see online is literally a waste of time.
I decided to delve into this topic and do some research. Turns out this guy is a celebrity trainer who's gained a massive following for challenging mainstream advice. He claims that what we've been told about weight loss is wrong, completely wrong. I've witnessed thousands of clients on V-Shred transform their lives and achieve their best shapes ever by dedicated, say, 20 minutes a day to 3 simple practices. And you know what? Makes a lot of sense when you listen to what he has to say.
Cardio burns fat, right? No, cardio actually burns calories, usually in the form of carbs in the bloodstream that are then replaced with the very next meal that you do eat and stored as more fat. And this is why even when you eat low-calorie foods or you run for an hour a day, you get softer, but you don't actually lose any weight. And this is one of the biggest reasons why most weight loss attempts fail within the first 3 weeks. The truth is that Hollywood's elite actors and actresses, they can get super ripped because they followed a long ignored technique that was used for generations of bodybuilders and athletes before steroids were even popular. So what's their approach? Well, they ruthlessly cut through the fluff because they have zero time to waste because their next film role is starting in just a few weeks, and so they can't waste time on the wrong program.
I cut out carbs, sugar. It was just not sustainable. Boom, I gained it back so fast. This time I feel like I've done it the healthy way. I've lost 30 pounds. Just do it. Just do it. You won't regret it. You're gonna see it too. You're gonna be like, dang, I look good. For a while, I just completely cut out carbs.
If you're in a choral singing in notes and a bunch of other people sing the fifth of that note, you can actually hear the harmonics overtones bounce in the room around you. And that's pretty awesome. A trained ear can actually hear some overtone directly within one note being played. And we can also use that to tune some instruments. Overtones contained within one note, and these overtones are actually what was used to tune clavichords and other instruments, especially the third harmonic of the harmonic series, the fifth, the easiest to hear, considered to be the most consonant interval of all. We used to tune our instruments fifth by fifth.
For all the times that you're in my parade, and all the clubs you get and using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying on my own, well I ain't. And I didn't want to write a song, cause I didn't want anyone thinking I still care, I don't. But you still hit my phone up, and baby I'll be moving on. And I think you should be something I don't wanna hold back. Maybe you should know that my mama don't like you and she likes everyone. And I never like to admit that I was wrong. And I've been so caught up in my job, didn't see what's going on, but now I know I'm better sleeping on my own. 'Cause if you like the way you look that much, then baby you should go and love yourself. And if you think that I'm still holding on, then maybe you should go and love yourself. When you told me that you hated my friends, the only problem was with you and not them. My mama don't like you, my mama don't like you, and she likes everyone. When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet. People fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe it's all part of a plan. Me, I fall in love with you every single day. I just wanna tell you, baby, now. 'Cause we it's different with the fucking guitar versus piano. It's like, alright, I'm playing these, I'm blocking this top string with my thumb, and all these strings are open. I'm playing them all. And then when I go to this F, I'm blocking this bottom string, and I'm blocking this top string, and I'm only playing the 4 strings. And then when I go here, it's like C major, fucking, yeah, it is C major. It's just got this G up here. But this is also being played, this open string here. So I'm playing them all. But the point is, like, you gotta block the strings sometimes you want to play this like that without blocking the bottom one. That's F major 7, and then sometimes you want to push it down, and you want to block that top one, or you might want to play all of it, you know. Now I'm just trying to play these 3. I'm blocking the rest. Oh man, this shit still hurts, dog. I need to go out here and work out, fucking warm it up, stretch it out, take care of myself. Stop being a bitch. but I'm in a good little flow right now, so I want to stay in it. Oh, there it is. Got that pick, dog. Got that pick. Got that pick. Suck my dick. Oh man. See, I gotta put a little more weed in the little more bowl. And I will play this video as I do that.
Of a note, you can multiply its frequency by 3 and then divide it by 2.
I'm fucking understanding so much more now. This is great. This is great.
Chords and other instruments, especially the third harmonic of the harmonic.
See the discomfort of fucking having to try to focus and shit like that. It's worth it, man. It's worth it. Because that little bit of discomfort, or however much discomfort, that becomes fucking joy that lasts. Like understanding that lasts. Being able to do the shit that lasts, and that's the shit you bring with you everywhere. You know? It's that fucking valuable shit, dog. That valuable shit. You know? If you lose everything, what do you have? You have what you know. You have what you can do. You have what you understand. You have your experiences. You have your thoughts. You have your mind and your body. Your mind and your body. That's what you need to fucking work on. Mind and body. Understanding and ability. Knowledge and understanding. Strength and honor. I'll start soon. That's what's up though, man. Off the vapes, yo. That's what's up, dog. My shit's almost back. Fuck. I guess I didn't really let myself rest too much when I fucking heard this one. I mean, I did. I don't know, man. I feel like I fucking had overdone it a little bit. Like pushing too much, doing too much, pushing too hard, breaking myself down. But then I'm also like, nah, I haven't done enough. And I'm just fucking bullshitting myself. But then I feel all the pain and all the shit that hurts. And I'm like, well, maybe you are. Maybe you have been. So I'm just gonna take it super fucking light, super easy. No matter how good I start to feel, I just gotta go slow. Just do reps, walking pace, a walking pace. And don't let that turn to a run. Just get it done, dog. Alright.
Contained within one note. And these overtones are actually what was used to tune clavichords and other.
So you're getting distracted between things I want to do and other things I want to do. Can't do everything at once. I mean, I guess I could have this playing while I work out, but I gotta focus. You gotta focus on one thing at a time. I gotta focus on where my feet are, where my hands are, where my fucking chin is. where every morsel, every molecule of me let's focus, dog. Focus.
Choral singing in notes and a bunch of other people sing the fifth of that note, you can actually hear the harmonics overtones bounce in the room around you, and that's pretty awesome. A trained ear can actually hear some overtone directly within one note being played, and we can also use that to tune some instruments. A trained ear can hear some of the harmonic overtones contained within one note, and these overtones
dog,
are...
I'm trying to get on that level, man. I want to hear the fucking harmonic overtones in the notes. So you can hear what other notes are being played in that note. So you gotta really listen. So I'm learning how to really fucking listen right now. Damn, that's crazy, man. Damn, that's crazy, dog. Damn, yo, I'm gonna be able to hear shit and be like, that's what this is. That's awesome.
The clavichords and other instruments, especially the third harmonic of the harmonic series, the fifth, the easiest to hear, considered to be the most consonant interval of all. We used to tune our instruments fifth by fifth. To have the fifth of a note, you can multiply its frequency by 3 and then divide it by 2 to lower the note by 1 or 2 octaves. So it's multiplying this frequency by 3/2 or 3/4. So you would tune the first note, let's say C, at 264 Hz. Then from C, you would tune the G note, which is the fifth of C, and you can do that by ear actually. You need good ears, but you do that by listening to beatings in the sound. So from this G note, you could find the D, then you could find the A, then the E, then the B, then F sharp, D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, and F. This figure is called the circle of fifth. The way we tune an instrument is called a temperament, and this particular way of tuning an instrument from fifth to fifth is called the Pythagorean temperament. It was made by Pythagoras himself. Yes, the same Pythagoras you heard of in middle school is considered to be the first one to theorize the harmonic series, and there, the first temperament. That was the temperament used up to the 15th century, when Occidental music used to favor fifth and fourth, which was considered the only consonant intervals, but it came with two issues. The first issue is that if we keep adding fifth at the end of a circle after the F, we should land on a C. But the C we get by multiplying the frequency of our F isn't exactly the frequency we began with. These dotted lines. So this interval has to be flattened so we can land on the C we're supposed to have. In result, this interval becomes dissonant, and it is called the wolf interval because it reminds the scream of that animal. Here is what it sounds like. The solution F isn't exactly the frequency. The first issue is that if we keep adding fifth at the end of a circle after the F, we should land on a C. But the C we get by multiplying the frequency of our F isn't exactly the frequency we began with. These dotted lines. So this interval has to be flattened so we can land on the C we're supposed to have. In result, this interval becomes dissonant, and it is called the wolf interval because it reminds the scream of that animal. Here is what it sounds like. The solution was to put this dissonant interval on an interval that was less used, or in an interval that we had to avoid carefully. The second issue was that the third was not pure neither. An interval of major third can be seen as 4 consecutive fifths. See there, from C to E, for example. E is the major third of C, and there are 4 fifths between these two. And if we compare the E in our circle here, which is the third of C, and the third that is in the harmonic series of C, the fifth harmonic overtones, we can see that their frequencies are not equal neither. It wasn't really a problem before the 15th century, when the third was considered dissonance, and this tuning probably have something to do with that. But it became a problem when Occidental music was tending to favor intervals of third and sixth, and the solution or circle here, which is the third of C, and the third that is in the harmonic series of C, the fifth harmonic overtones, we can see that their frequencies are not equal neither. It wasn't really a problem before the 15th century. The second issue was that the third was not pure neither. An interval of major third can be seen as 4 consecutive fifths. See there, from C to E, for example. E is the major third of C, and there are 4 fifths between these two. And if we compare the E in our circle here, which is the third of C, and the third that is in the harmonic series of C, the fifth harmonic overtones, we can see that their frequencies are not equal neither. It wasn't really a problem before the 15th century, when the third was considered dissonance, and this tuning probably have something to do with that. But it became a problem when Occidental music was tending to favor intervals of third and sixth, and the solution there was the mean-tone temperament, or mean-tone temperaments, I should say, because there are several.
This is your mix in your room, and then this is your mix when you take it out to your car. Why does this happen? You might think you need better plugins, and you might think you need more mixing. But if you've been doing this for any period of time, you already know that neither of those things are going to be the silver bullet.
Mastering.
Here's the real problem. You're not a mastering engineer, and that means you don't have one.
The difference between the natural third found in the harmonic series and the third found in the Pythagorean temperament is called the comma. And as the third is 4 consecutive fifths, the solution was to lower each fifth by 1/4 of that comma. So our thirds would be pure, sacrificing the purity of the fifth in the process. That was good enough for a music that mean-tone temperament, or mean-tone temperaments, I should say, because there are several. The difference between the natural third found in the harmonic series and the third found in the Pythagorean temperament is called the comma. And as the third is 4 consecutive fifths, the solution was to lower each fifth by 1/4 of that comma. So our thirds would be pure, sacrificing the purity of the fifth in the process. That was good enough for a music that favored the thirds and the sixth, but the problem of the Wolf interval was not resolved yet. In fact, the last fifth was below the pure fifth that we were supposed to have, and even further from it, so the Wolf interval was even worse. But it also means that the 4 thirds that were passing by this Wolf interval were false as well, so you had to avoid all of them, and you had to avoid certain tonalities completely. So, to minimize this problem, other mean-tone temperaments lowered each fifth by 1/6 or 1/8 of a comma, bringing the last fifth closer to a pure interval, but sacrificing the purity of each third in the process, and any tuning was still bound to certain tonalities. Because of that, for the next few centuries, musicians has been creating different irregular temperaments, which made each tonality sound differently due to the irregularities of the tunings. That was until the 19th century, when the equal temperament was created. That is the temperament we are still using today. The principle of the equal temperament is that every note in the chromatic scale are separated by an equal interval. This means that all the notes end up being slightly offset and all the intervals end up being slightly off as well. Technically, this tuning that we use today is the most inexact of all time, but it makes all fifths and all thirds equally consonant as well. So we don't have to avoid any tonalities. They all get equivalence. We lose the specific character that each tonality had in irregular temperaments, but it allows us to travel from a tonality to another within the same music, without having to avoid any of the tonality neither. As an egotist example, this is why my 98 chord song was even possible. And that also means that we can transpose any song in any key without having to retune our instrument. So that is with this technically most inexact temperament of all that we get the more freedom. From there, we can fiddle freely with our scales and wander in any tonalities. In our musical system, an octave is divided in 12 equal intervals, so we have 12 notes per octave. And in the most used scales, including major and minor, there are 7 of those notes. The name of these scales will then depend on 2 things: the fundamental, the first note of the scale, and the way the note is spaced throughout the octave. Let's take the scale of C major, for example. It's easy, it's only the white keys of a piano keyboard. So C is the root key of the scale, the note that feels like home, and major is defined by the sequence of intervals from the root key. So in this case of C major, the first interval is from C to D. That's 2 semitones, so 1 tone. The next interval between D and E is also 2 semitones, so 1 tone. Then 1 semitone between E and F, 1 tone between F and G, 1 tone between G and A. So the major scale is defined by the sequence of interval 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone. And this is something we can transpose to any tonality to have any major scale. So if I want the major scale of G, for instance, it goes G, 1 tone A, 1 tone B, 1 semitone C, 1 tone D, 1 tone E, 1 tone F sharp, then 1 semitone back to G, which is the scale we ended up with in the video on consonances and dissonances. The C major scale works because we define C as our home note, but every major scale have a relative minor scale. This is another scale that would be minor, but will use exactly the same notes. So the only difference between a major scale and its relative minor is the fundamental notes that we call home, that feels like home. The relative minor scale of a major scale is the one that takes its 6th note as a fundamental. So for the C major scale, for example, the relative minor scale is A minor, taking the exact same notes from the C major scale that makes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's the A minor scale. Once again, this minor scale is defined by the sequence of interval that build it. So the first interval is from A to B, that is 1 tone, then from B to C is 1 semitone, C to D is 1 tone, D to E is 1 tone, E to F is 1 semitone, F to G is 1 tone, and G back to A is 1 tone. So the sequence that defines a minor scale is 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone. And we can also transpose that to any tonality, to have any minor scale. So as an example, let's make the minor scale of E. It goes E, 1 tone F sharp, 1 semitone G, 1 tone A, 1 tone B, 1 semitone C, 1 tone D, and 1 tone back to E. And this is the relative minor of the D major scale. They use exactly the same notes. In the same fashion, from a major scale, we can take any note as a fundamental, as our home note, and then we start building a whole bunch of new scales. And this is what we call modes. Starting with the C major scale, the C major scale is actually called the Ionian mode, or mode of C. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from D is called the Dorian mode, or mode of D. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from E is called the Phrygian mode, or mode of whole bunch of new minor of the G major scale. They use exactly the same notes. In the same fashion, from a major scale, we can take any note as a fundamental, as our home note, and then we start building a whole bunch of new scales. And this is what we call modes. Starting with the C major scale, or A to B, that is 1 tone, then from B to C is 1 semitone, C to D is 1 tone, 1 semitone, and with the scale of E, it goes E, 1 tone F sharp, 1 semitone G, 1 minor of the G major scale. They use exactly the same notes. In the same fashion, from a major scale, we can take any note as a fundamental, as our home note, and then we start building a whole bunch of new scales. And this is what we call modes. Starting with the C major scale, the C major scale is actually called the Ionian mode, or mode of C. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from D is called the Dorian mode, or mode of D. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from E is called the Phrygian mode, or mode of E, and then the mode of F is called the Lydian mode. The mode of G is called the Mixolydian mode. The mode of A is called Aeolian mode, that's the minor scale. And the mode of B is called the Locrian mode. As any scales, these modes are defined by the suite of intervals that build them, so they can be
Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian. Aeolian is minor. hungry dog, feeling hungry. So Dorian, or Ionian, and Aeolian. Those are major and minor.
Any root note. For example, if I want the Lydian scale of G, we'll start with a G and then we'll follow the sequence of the Lydian scale, which is 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone. That makes the scale G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. That's the Lydian G scale. It exists other scales that are a bit more exotic, which are not made from the same sequence than the major scale. Just to name a few, there is the acoustic or Lydian dominant scale, which goes 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 half tone, 1 tone, 1 half tone, 1 tone. Or the Byzantine scale, that goes 1 semitone, 1 tone and a half, 1 semitone, 1 whole tone, 1 semitone.
So the Byzantine is... Yeah. I think that's the same note. No, it's not the same note.
And 1 semitone. There are also less harmonic scales like Messiaen's tone-semitone scale, which follow the sequence tone, semitone, tone, semitone, tone, semitone, etc. But we may see these exotic scales more in details in other videos. First, we'll see how chords are made and how to find each chord of each tonality.
If you compose music or songs, there's a cool and easy way to boost your creative output that you might not be aware of.
A chord is a set of notes played together. And the name of these chords depend on the root notes, on how many notes there are in it, and the interval that separates each note. Triads are chords that are made of 3 notes. They are at the basis of all chords. To build them, we'll need a root note, which will give the chord its name, then a third and a fifth. So if I want to make a chord of C, I'll take a C, the third E, and the fifth G. That makes a C major chord. Because between C and E, there are 2 tones, which is an interval of a major third. And between C and G, there is an interval of 3.5 tones, which is an interval of a perfect fifth. So a root note plus a major third plus a perfect fifth makes a major chord, which is considered to be a happy chord. It sounds happy. To make it a minor chord, I have to lower the third by a semitone, so it becomes E flat, and the interval between the root note C and E flat is 1 tone and a half, which is an interval of a minor third. The interval between C and G is still a perfect fifth. So a root note plus a minor third plus a perfect fifth make a minor chord. That's considered to be a sad chord. It sounds kinda sad. The only difference between a major chord and a minor chord is the third. This note alone will determine the state of the whole chord. And you can actually change the order of the notes, the voicing. It will still stay the same chord. For example, if I write my C major chord, E, G, C, it can be described as an E chord with a third and a sixth, but in fact it is still a C major chord. That's what we call an inversion. If I remove the third in my chord, the chord is neither minor or major. This is what we call a power chord. This is just a root note with a fifth, and it's used a lot by guitarists. so I can alter my third to make my chord major or minor, but I can also alter the fifth. If I move my perfect fifth up a semitone, it becomes augmented, and if I move it down a semitone, it becomes diminished.
Yes.
So a chord with a major third and an augmented fifth is called an augmented chord, such as C, E, G sharp. That's a C augmented chord. It's considered to be more of a bright chord.
Oh, that's the augmented fifth. So what? You're raising the fifth, the semitone, to G sharp. So that's G. And that would be G sharp. Is that what he did?
Such as C, E, G sharp. That's a C augmented chord. It's considered to be more of a bright chord. The other way around, a chord with a minor third and a diminished fifth is called a diminished chord, such as C, E flat, G flat. It's considered to be a dark chord, and that's pretty much all the most used triads: major, minor, augmented, and diminished. We could create a triad with a major third and a diminished chord, such as C, E flat, G flat. It's considered to be a dark chord.
Diminished fifth. So augmented.
The other way around, a chord with a minor third and a diminished fifth is called a diminished chord, such as C, E flat, G flat. It's considered to be a dark chord, and that's pretty much all the most used triads: major, diminished chord, such as C, E flat, G flat.
Oh yeah, okay, I see. So it's the minor chord, the diminished fifth. So the minor would normally be a C, E, G. Okay. So diminished is flattened. Fifth, flat fifth.
Considered to be a dark chord, and that's pretty much all the most used triads: major, minor, augmented, and diminished. We could create a triad and a diminished fifth, for example, which I heard was called a hard diminished chord, which sounds harsh, but it's not really used. In fact, if we see the three notes together, C, E, and G flat, it's often as being part of another chord, although
Oh, G flat. Maybe up here. Major third, diminished fifth.
with at least a fourth note added. So this hard diminished chord with a major third and a diminished fifth is not really used as is. In fact, every chord can be considered as a superposition of thirds. A major chord is a major third plus a minor third. A minor chord is a minor third plus a major third. An augmented chord is two
major chord, a major third plus a minor third. So C. What?
stacked up, and a diminished chord is two minor thirds stacked up. Maybe that explains a bit better why we don't really use the major third with a diminished fifth. And then there wouldn't be an interval of third between the third and the fifth in our chord. So when you're using a scale, you can build your chords by stacking up thirds. In practice, that means that when you're using a scale, you can build your chords by taking one note every two, starting with the root note. The space between each note will then define the nature of the chord. So in the scale of C major, for instance, that's all the white key on the keyboard. If I build a C chord, I start from C, I leave a note, then take a note, that's E, I leave a note, then take a note, that's G. So we have our major chord C, E, G that we had before. But we can build a chord for every note in the scale in the exact same way. So for a D chord, I start from D, leave a note, take a note, leave a note, take a note. So we have D, F, A. With 1 tone and a half between D and F, that's a minor third. And with 2 tones between F and A, that's a major third. So a minor third with a major third, that's a minor chord. If we build every chord over the C major scale, we find that our C chord is major, the D and E chords are minor, the F and G chords are major, the A chord is minor, and the...
Okay, so C, D, E, E.
diminished. In the same way we riff...
C, D, E, and then A, B, C. So A, C, E is a minor. So you have minor third is 1 and a half, okay. Okay.
Between F and A, that's a major third. So a minor third with a major third, that's a minor chord. If we build every chord over the C major scale, we find that our C chord is major, the D and E chords are minor, the F and G chords are major, the A chord is minor, and the B chord is diminished. In the same way we refer to every note in the scale with Arabic numerals, we refer to the chords of a scale with Roman numerals. That will come handy to talk about our chord progressions. Just know that these are called degrees. The first degree, second degree, third degree, etc. The fifth degree is a bit special. It's called the dominant, but we'll get back to it.
Flames are absolutely pumping at Rocky Point. I just woke up and trying to let this coffee and magic mind kick in.
So my first day on Magic Mind, I definitely noticed a big difference right off the bat. I noticed all the way throughout the day feeling much sharper, clear in the head, and ready to rock.
That's probably the most valuable thing, as a knowledgeable for someone who's working for the whole day, you need that time where you're focused and
by stacking thirds on top of each other or taking one note every 2, you can create chords, but you don't have to stop at a triad with 3 notes. You can add more. When you add more notes to your triad, you're creating an extended chord. If you add 1 extra note, you add the 7th, so that's a 7th chord. If you add another extra note, you add the 9th, so that's a 9th chord. Another extra note and you're adding an 11th, so that's called an 11th chord. Another extra note and you're adding a 13th note, so that's called a 13th chord. You get it. If I try to make a 13th chord from C in the C or taking 1 note, just know that these are called degrees. The first degree, second degree, third degree, etc. The fifth degree is a bit special. It's called the dominant, but we'll get back to it. By stacking thirds on top of each other or taking 1 note every 2, you can create chords. But you don't have to stop at a triad with 3 notes. You can add more. When you add more notes to your triad, you're creating an extended chord. If you add 1 extra note, you add the 7th, so that's a 7th chord. If you add another extra note, you add the 9th, so that's a 9th chord. Another extra note and you're adding an 11th, so that's called an 11th chord. Another extra note and you're adding a 13th note, so that's called a 13th chord. You get it. If I try to make a 13th chord from C in the C major scale, that makes C, E, G, B, D, F, A. So technically, this is a 13th chord. Yeah. Again, the nature of these extended chords will depend on the interval between each of their notes. So let's define all these intervals once and for all. Every interval is defined by the distance between the note of the chord and the root note. Some intervals will be called perfects. If they are extended by a semitone, they are called augmented, and if they are shortened by a semitone, they are called diminished. Then some intervals are called either major or minor, with a semitone between the 2 states. If a major interval is extended by 1 semitone, it becomes augmented, and if a minor interval is shortened by one semitone, it becomes diminished. But these are more rare instances. To know which intervals are perfect or major or minor, just remember the C major scale, as everything seems to be built around that. That's all the white key on the keyboard. In the C major scale, the 4th and the 5th are perfect intervals, and the 2nd, the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th are all major intervals. From there, it gives you all the reference intervals you need to know if your 6th or 7th is minor or major. For example, if you have 4 tones between 2 notes, that's like the interval between a C and a G sharp or A flat. So that's an interval of either an augmented 5th or a minor 6th. For the 7th, it is a major 7th if the note is 5 tones and a half above the root note. That's a semitone below its octave. Or if it is 2 tones above the perfect 5th. It becomes a minor 7th if it's a whole tone below the root note, or 1 tone and a half above the perfect 5th. We can also observe that the major chords in these scales are built upon the perfect intervals, and the minor or diminished chords are built upon the non-perfect intervals. This figure can come in very handy as a reference, and it should definitely be on the cheat sheet if you need one. So now that we know how to build a 7th chord by adding a 7th on top of a triad, and we know how we can identify different intervals, let's see the most used 7th chord. A major triad with a minor 7th, which would be a minor 3rd above the 5th, is probably the most common 7th chord and is called a dominant 7th chord because it is often used on the 5th degree, which is the dominance degree. For a C chord, they will make C, E, G, B flat, and it would be noted C7. If we have a major for a C chord, they will make C, E, G, B flat, and it would be noted.
Okay. Minor 7th. So. C7. B flat. Oh yeah, it's this one. Is this B flat? What is this? What is this? What is this? That's G. Oh, that's B flat.
If we have a major triad with a major 7th, they will make a major 7th chord. So for C, they will make C, E, G, B, and it would be noted C capital A.
Yeah, C major 7, okay.
Then if we have a minor triad plus a minor 7th, that makes a minor 7th chord. So for a C chord, there would be C, E flat, G, B flat. There would be noted C lowercase m 7. We can also have a minor triad with a E lowercase chord. There would be C, E flat, G, B flat. There would be noted C lowercase.
Minor 7th. So. Minor 7th is the flat 7th. See all that fucking shit, it's just the flat 7th. Okay. So it adds the B. So the B flat I'm in. Yeah, so it's a B flat, C, G, C, E flat, G. So then you gotta add the B flat to make it a major 7. And that's B flat right there. So that's a minor 7th. Minor 7th. And that's a major 7th. No. That's still B flat, so what is that then? So that's not a major 7th right here. Oh no, not that, I'm tripping. This is a C7. Yeah, this is a C7 because it's a 7, it's flat 7. This is a major 7. This is minor 7. And this is major 7. And this is C7. So this is the same as this. Cool.
If we have a minor triad plus a minor 7th, that makes a minor 7th chord. So for a C chord, there would be C, E flat, G, B flat. There would be noted C lowercase m 7. We can also have a minor triad with a major 7th. There would be a minor major 7th chord.
Yeah.
That would make, for instance, C, E flat, G, B.
Okay. So this is a minor 7. So that's a minor 7. This is minor major 7. Would add the B. Is that how you do it? C, E flat, G, B. Yeah. That's a minor major 7. C minor major 7. C minor 7. C major 7. C7. Regular C, C major 7, C minor 7, C minor major 7.
C lowercase m capital M7. This one is a bit more rare. Then we can have a D.
That's correct.
The minor 7th. That'd be called a half diminished 7th chord. So for example, C, E flat, G flat, B flat. There would be noted C lowercase m7 flat 5.
Whoa.
or like this. A
half diminished seventh chord. Okay. So the seventh, so the 7 is a minor seventh. There's a major 7. There's a the C7 is the half step down on the 7th in the major. On the major chord, add a half step down on the 7th. So C major is C major 7 adds the major 7th. C7 adds the diminished 7th or minor 7th, whatever. C minor 7th it's the C minor with the minor 7th. And then there's C major 7th with the major 7th, and then there's C major minor 7th and C major with the minor 7th. Okay. That's a minor 7th. That doesn't have to be C. Major minor 7th. So major, the minor 7th, the minor major 7th. Okay. So a 7 is just a major with the 7th, but minored, half step down. Or the 7th of the minor. Okay.
E flat, G flat, D flat. That would be noted C, lowercase m7, flat 5, or like this.
Half diminished 7th. So it's the minor 3rd, diminished 5th. Okay, so diminished is half step down on the 5th. The minor 7th, okay. So that's half diminished 7th chord. So C minor 7, B5. So it's the minor. With a diminished 5th. It's a minor 7th with a diminished 5th. It's a minor chord with a minor 7th and a diminished 5th. Okay, I get it.
With a crossed circle, that's a half diminished 7th chord. And to have a fully diminished 7th chord, there would be a diminished triad with a diminished 7th. So for C, it would be C, E flat, G flat, B double flat. I like this one.
B double flat. So half diminished, diminished. So that's C7. That's 7. That's the same thing. C7. So the half diminished 7. So it's the C minor chord with a flat 5th. So where's the 5th? That's this one. With a flat 5th, so that would be a flat there. That's G flat. And then E flat, because that's the minor part. And then the 7th. Oh, so it's like that, yeah. That's half diminished. Half diminished. think the half diminished, it can be any of these. So this C half diminished 7th. C minor. So it's the C minor with a flat 5th and the flat and the minor 7th. So the diminished 7th would be a double flat 7th. So this is the 7th here. Which is B flat. So it's double flat. Because this is half diminished, so then you make it full diminished. You'd have to bring that there, bring this there. That's full diminished.
Confusing. Even though the B technically becomes the same note than an A, it's flat, G flat, B double flat. I like this one because it's a bit confusing. Even though the B technically becomes the same note than an A, it still serves the function of a 7th, and we stack up minor thirds on top of each other to make this one. But A would be a 6th, so we keep the name B for that note to show that it's considered a 7th, but it's double flat, it's diminished. So the C diminished 7th chord could be noted C dim 7. This one is very dissonant as it has 2 intervals of diminished 5th in it. I like it a lot. Now with an augmented triad we can have a minor 7th. That would be called an augmented 7th chord. So on a C triad we can have a minor 7th. That would be
so augmented triad plus a minor 7th equals augmented 7th chord. So C7, C major, C major 7, C7, C minor 7, C major 7, C major 7. So C half diminished. C full diminished. And then the augmented triad plus a minor 7th. What does that mean? Augmented 7th chord.
An augmented 7th chord. So on a C chord, that would be C, E, G sharp, B flat. This one is the rule, as it doesn't have an interval of a third between the 5th and the 7th. This chord is also used a lot on chords of 5th degree, and is also known as a dominant augmented 7th chord, and that denoted C plus 7. With an augmented triad, we can have a major 7th. That would be called an augmented major 7th chord. So on a C chord, that would be C, E, G sharp, B, and that denoted C capital M7 sharp 5, or C.
I'm a little confused here.
Third between the an augmented triad, we can have a minor 7th. That would be called an augmented 7th chord. So on a C chord, that would be C, E, G sharp, B flat. This one is sort of a break in the rule, as it doesn't have an interval of a third between the 5th and the 7th. This chord is also used a lot on chords of 5th degree, and is also known as a dominant augmented 7th chord, and that denoted C plus 7. With an augmented triad, we can have a major 7th. That would be called an augmented major 7th chord. So on a C chord, that would be C, E, G sharp, an interval of a third between the 5th and the 7th. This chord is also used a lot on chords of 5th degree, and that would be C, E, G sharp, B flat. This one is sort of a break in the rule, as it doesn't have an interval of a third between the 5th and the 7th. Used a lot on chords of 5th degree, and is also known as a dominant augmented 7th chord, and that denoted C+7. With an augmented triad, we can have a major 7th. That would be called an augmented major 7th chord. So on a C chord, that would be C, E, G sharp, B, and that denoted C capital M7 sharp 5, or C plus capital M7. Now that we know what the different 7th chord look like, we can identify each 7th chord of our C major scale. If we take each note of the scale and build the 7th chord, so remember you start with the root notes and then you take one note every two, so leave a note, take a note, leave a note, take a note, and see the intervals that compose them, we find that the C chord, the 1st degree, is the C major 7th, the 2nd degree is a D minor 7th, the 3rd degree is a E minor 7th, the 4th degree is a F major 7th, the 5th degree is a G dominant 7th, the 6th degree is a A minor 7th, and the 7th degree is a B half diminished 7th. This gives you the states of all the 7th chord in a major scale, and because all major scales have a relative minor scale that use the exact same notes, you can have the 7th chord of a minor scale by simply starting from the 6th degree, because that's where a relative minor scale begins. So these are the 7th chord of a minor scale. You can add other notes on top of that. If we take each note of the scale and build the 7th chord, so remember you start with the root notes and then you take one note every two, so leave a note, take a note, leave a note, take a note, and see the intervals that compose them, we find that the C chord, the 1st degree, is the C major 7th, the 2nd...
It's fucking annoying, yeah. Man, what the fuck, yo? Damn, that's annoying. Is he not fucking coming by here? Fuck, man. Man, that's fucking annoying, dog. Just wanna fucking be at peace. Nobody fucking bothering me. Distractions. Anywho. the thumbs you get and using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying on my own? God, man. Fucking annoying. That's fucking annoying.
The D minor seventh, the third degree is a E minor seventh, the fourth degree is a F major seventh, the fifth degree is a G dominant seventh, the sixth degree is a A minor seventh, and the seventh degree is a B half diminished seventh.
DFA.
This gives you the states of all the seventh chord in a major scale. And because all major scales have a relative minor scale that use the exact same notes, you can have the seventh chord of a minor scale by simply starting from the sixth degree, because that's where a relative minor scale begins. So these are the seventh chord of a minor scale. You can add other notes on top of that to create 9th, 11th or 13th chord, but there may already be a lot of information. And I would like to talk a bit about how to actually use this chord to create a from the 6th degree, because that's minor scale begins. So these are the seventh chord of a minor scale. You can add other notes on top of that to create 9th, 11th or 13th chord, but there may already be a lot of information. And I would like to talk a bit about how to actually use this chord to create our chord progression first. And I would like to talk a bit scale that use the exact same notes. You can have the seventh chord of a minor scale by simply from the 6th degree, because that's where a relative minor scale begins. So these are the seventh chord of a minor scale. You can add other notes on top of that to create 9th, 11th or 13th chord, but there may already be a lot of information. And I would like to talk a bit about how to actually use this chord to create our chord progression first. To build the music, we'll build a chain of chord that will play in a certain order with a certain rhythm, and this is this chain of chord that we call our chord progression. And there are certain rules, or tendencies rather, that you can follow to build a chain. On top of that to create 9th, 11th or 13th chord, but there may already be a lot of information. And I would like to talk a bit about how to actually use this chord to create our chord progression first. To build the music, we'll build a chain of chord that will play in a certain order with a certain rhythm, and this is this chain of chord that we call our chord progression. And there are certain rules, or tendencies rather, that you can follow to build them. I actually don't really like to call them rules, because following them is not really an obligation. Music theory hasn't been built as a rigid set of rules that you must follow. It's the music that has been made first, and then we try to find out why certain things were working. And those rules were then deduced from that. And it is part of the fun to try to break certain rules while making music. But following them is just a higher rate of success, so I guess it's better to know the rules before trying to break them. It's better to understand what you're doing to do it better. Anyway, so each chord of the scale has a number that we call degree that is related to the number of the notes in the scale. From there, you can put together a chain of chords using the chords of the scale you're using, and as all the chords are from the same scale, or the same tonality, it should work just fine. So when you Chords from tonality, some degrees in the scale will be sensed in a particular way, bringing different colors to the progression. Some will bring tension, and some other will bring resolution. For instance, the chord 5, which is called the dominant, will create a tension that will want to be resolved by going back to the chord 1, the home chord. This is because the first note and the fifth note of the scale have a special relationship. They are very consonant. If the 1 is the home you're searching for, then the 5 would be like the neighbor's home. When you see it, you know you're almost there. So the 5th degree brings a tension, and the 1st degree brings the resolution. And this tension and resolutions are something you want to play a lot with. Because writing music, I guess, is a bit like writing a dialogue. Parts of your chains of chord or melodic line would be sentences, and there would be questions and answers and suppositions. And some chord progression that has been used a lot has become very recognizable and can be used like punctuation to build our sentences. These little chord progressions are called cadences.
What do you know about a heist at a black market storage facility and how?
Yeah, they didn't talk about OG4. A major 7, A minor 7, let's see, A major, minor 7, A7. That's OG2, OG4. Or is it add 2? No, OG2.
The progression that goes 5 to 1 is called the authentic cadence. It's often prepared by a 2, so the full authentic cadence would be 2-5-1. In C major, which is all the white keys of the keyboard.
2-5-1. So that's D minor, G major, C.
Minor, G major, C major. And this is the most conclusive cadence. It acts like a full stop in a sentence. It's a good cadence to end a song, for example. It's very conclusive, and we finish with a big resolution. If your sentence ends on 5, so often 2-5, you prepare it like a perfect cadence, but you stop on the 5, like an unfinished cadence. You stay hanging in the air. This is called the half cadence, and it acts a bit like a question mark or a comma. It creates a sentence that finishes on a little tension that needs to be answered. You can also... If your sentence ends on 5, so often 2-5, you prepare it like a perfect cadence, but you stop on the 5, like an unfinished cadence. You stay hanging in the air. This is called the half cadence, and it acts a bit like a question mark or a comma. It creates a sentence that finishes on a little tension that needs to be answered. You can also prepare an authentic cadence, but instead of going to the first degree, you go to a different degree. That is called a deceptive cadence, or an interruptus. But instead of going to the first degree, you go to a different degree. That is called a deceptive cadence, or an interrupted cadence. The chord of the first degree is often replaced by the chord of the 6th degree. So in C major, there would be D minor, G major, A minor.
And then C.
This is not a conclusive... It's It's like we prepare the end of the sentence, but at the last moment we continue for a bit longer. The deceptive cadence is a great tool to break the expectation and add an element of surprise to shift the mood of a sentence, for example. The last cadence we'll see here is when the progression goes from 4 to 1. This is called the plagal cadence. This is a conclusive cadence that will sound like the end of a sentence, but it's not as conclusive as the authentic 5 to 1. It is used a lot in rock music, for example. So let's try to make a song by taking advantage of all those cadences. Okay, let's start by picking some chords at random to kickstart our creativity. So between 1 and 7, we have 4, 2, 7, and 3. Cool, that be our main chord progression. And I'll copy that 4 times to have 4 lines. At the end of each line, I'll insert the different cadences we saw. So on the first line, I'll squeeze the 7 and the 3 in the same bar to have room to finish on the 5. That's our half cadence. On the second line, I'll replace the 3 by a 4 and squeeze it in the same bar than the 7 to have some room to finish on the 1. So we have a 4 to 1, that's our plagal cadence. On the third line, I'll prepare an interrupted cadence just like an authentic cadence. I'll put the 5 at the very end of the line so it finishes on the first beat of the next line. That will sound more conclusive, except that I'll land on the 6 instead of a 1 in the next bar. So that's our interrupted cadence. For the last line, I'll do exactly the same thing except that I'll land on a 1. So we finish on a nice authentic cadence. In the last line, I also replace the 2 and the 7 by a 5 and a 4 to have that nice descent of 6, 5, 4, 3. And there we have our chord progression with the 4 to 7. That will be the core of our progression. And then first we have a half cadence that brings a bit of suspension, then a plagal cadence that brings a little resolution, then we have an interrupted cadence that adds some motion with a bit of variety there, and then we finish on an authentic cadence that is more conclusive. For this chord progression, I decided to go for the tonality of C minor, because minor is cool, and when you are in a minor tonality, you can make the 5 chord major when they prepare a cadence, even though they're supposed to be minor in these tonalities. It adds some tension and make these cadences better. I'll explain why more in details in the next video, but just so you know, I made these 2 last 5 chord major. So in C minor, this is the chord progression we end up with. Play that with a rhythm, add a bass, a drum, and a little melody on top, and here is one way this can sound. Also play any of these 5th degree chords in their dominant 7th form to add some tension. And another reason why this 5th degree creates tension with the 1st degree is because of how the chord itself is built. In the scale of C major, the 5th degree chord, which is G, is built with the root note G, the major 3rd B, and the perfect 5th D. This note B is very close, just a semitone away from the tonic C of our scale. And this fundamental have such a strong role in the scale that this B wants to climb up this little semitone to go to the tonic. That's why it's called the leading tone, because it creates this friction that generally leads to the tonic. If we look at the minor scale, like A minor, the 5th degree is supposed to be a minor chord, right? But when you use this chord to make a cadence, so from 5 to 1 in A minor would be E minor to A minor, when you make a cadence, you can make it major to have this leading tone of a half step below the tonic and add this friction to your chord progression. So the E chord would lead more easily to the A chord using this leading tone. In fact, any dominant chord, a chord of 5th degree, that is preparing a cadence can be made major in any tonality.
That shit because I'm starting to get a little bit, gotta digest what I've learned. I gotta fucking work out soon. Move my ass. Stretch and shit. Damn, I was jacked, dog. Trying to get back to that. Hmm. 3 years ago. That's when I uploaded it to fucking. Looking at the fucking gym shit, all the training I'm missing out on. Fuck, man, I can't wait to fucking go back, man. A little tiny NC an NC snack. These Slim Fast bars. Yeah, 50 grams, 180 calories. See, because they put less fucking fat in this and more protein. As opposed to these fucking stupid ass fucking things. This is one bar, 50 grams, 180 calories, 15 grams of protein, 8 grams of fat, 20 grams of carbs. This one, and 2 grams of sugar total. This one's 10 grams of protein, 200 calories, 40 grams, fucking 12 grams of fat, 15 grams of carbs. So you're getting 5 more grams of protein, 5 more grams of carbs, 4 less grams of fat, and 20 less calories than this one. And you're getting 10 more grams of fucking shit to put in your mouth. So this is much better.